The moment everyone found out you were the fake heir, the 5 aunts who had always been icy and untouchable collectively lost their minds. Aunt Nina would show up every single night with a special glass of milk for you. Aunt Stella was always clinging to you, wanting to go over parallel parking techniques together, and little Aunt Sophie took it to the next level. She actually started hiding under your bed every night just to spy on you. Meanwhile, Marcus, the real heir, could never wrap his head around why 5 drop-dead gorgeous women kept swarming around some fraud inside the Moo family mansion at that moment. Your foster father Richard jabbed a finger at you with barely contained fury. Jordan, you stole 20 years of Marcus's life. Paying back $200 million is the bare minimum. If you know what's good for you, get out and go work off that debt. You took a slow breath, then bent down with trembling hands and picked up the astronomical compensation agreement lying at your feet. I won't argue about other things, but isn't $200 million a little? Before you could finish, Richard cut you off with a wave of his hand. Shut up, I am not your father. You froze for just a second, then let out a cold laugh. Fine. So, old man, this $200 million figure. Did you just pull that number out of thin air? Richard's face changed color instantly. You little bastard, what did you just call me? You held his glare without flinching. A pathetic deadbeat is what I called you. Richard, are you going deaf on top of everything else? Richard nearly choked on his own rage. He spun toward the head butler and exploded. Old Wang, drag this little brat outside right now and rough him up. Then dump him in the countryside to feed the pigs. The words had barely left his mouth when the front doors of the mansion were shoved wide open and 5 breathtakingly beautiful women walked in side by side. The moment Richard laid eyes on them, his own eyes lit up like a man who forgot what he was doing. He yanked Marcus forward eagerly. Marcus, these 5 are all your aunts on your mother's side. Richard turned toward the eldest aunt and began introducing, Jade, this here is your real nephew Marcus. That other one is a fake. If you don't believe me, I have the paternity test results right here. The moment he said that, all 5 aunts snapped to attention, and the one with the high ponytail, 4th Aunt Yara, moved the fastest. As the National Women's Combat Champion, she launched a kick that sent Marcus flying, then grabbed Richard by the collar and snapped, say that again. Jordan is not my big sister's son. Richard went completely pale, then wailed, my boy, Yara! You kicked the wrong person. That's your actual nephew, Yara. Without missing a beat, she smacked Richard across the face. Shut that mouth. You sound like you're at a funeral. I'm asking you a question. Richard was so worked up over his son, he barely registered the sting on his cheek and shoved Yara aside, then rushed to Marcus, who was barely holding himself together. My baby boy, are you okay? Marcus was clutching his stomach with a face as white as a sheet, his voice shaking like a leaf. Dad, it hurt so bad. You said she was my aunt. Why would my own aunt hit me? Did Marcus do something wrong? Marcus can change. Standing off to the side, watching the whole mess unfold, you couldn't help thinking to yourself, this guy is completely wasted not starring in some drama. Then your eyes swept across the 5 aunts, and you caught second Aunt Stella staring at you with a glow in her eyes, and visibly swallowing, before you could even figure out what that was about. Your view was suddenly blocked by 2 very prominent landmarks up close. First, Aunt Jade had hooked her arm around your neck, and pulled you straight into her chest. Jordan, what exactly were you looking at? Big Aunt Jade, let go. You were being squeezed so hard you couldn't breathe, and nearly let the forbidden word slip out. Jade arched one elegant brow. Jordan, what was that? Auntie couldn't quite catch that. The other aunts clocked what Jade was doing, and a flicker of irritation crossed their faces. But nobody said anything. After all, you had been raised in Jade's arms since you were little. At that point, second Aunt Stella snapped back to reality and walked over to the pile of documents on the floor. She studied each report with a serious expression, and the sight pulled Jade's attention away too. She finally released you and went over to look. The vice grip on your head had barely been freed, but before you could enjoy even one real breath of fresh air, another pair of arms wrapped in a cloud of perfume came flying at you again. It was your superstar third Aunt Chloe. Jordan, my little sweetheart. Auntie Chloe came back just planning to peek in for a second, but now you've gone and dropped the biggest surprise on her. What is she supposed to do now? Before you could get a word in fifth, Aunt Sophie stepped forward and pulled Chloe back. Chloe, you should probably verify the situation first before getting carried away. At that point, you finally managed to breathe again. You gulped down air like a drowning man, while the aunts gathered around Stella to look at the paternity test. One glance was all it took, and every single one of them lit up with pure joy. In no time at all, they were back at your side. Jade was first to move. She grabbed your arm, and her voice came out unusually soft. Jordan, so what if there's no blood relation? Honestly, that makes things even better. Your brain froze for about 2.5 seconds. What did she mean by no blood relation being even better? You genuinely had no idea. Stella came over as well. Jordan, honestly, Stella has been meaning to say this for a while. Someone as exceptional as you. How could you possibly be that deadbeat son? As she said it, Stella turned and gave Richard a cold look, then tore the $200 million compensation agreement to shreds. You're asking Jordan to pay you $200 million. Did he ever cost you a single dollar growing up? Please, you're nothing but a worthless freeloader. Richard's face went dark as stone. You're all missing the point. Just wait until your big sister gets back. Third Aunt Chloe shot him a sideways glance, then walked right up to you. Jordan, baby, today's your birthday, isn't it? Auntie Chloe brought you a gift. Your heart jumped, and you quickly waved your hands. Just having all of you back here is already more than enough for me. I really don't need any gifts. Right at that moment, Jade reached into her limited edition handbag and pulled out a black and gold card and held it out to you. Jordan, sweetie, there are only 2 of these cards in existence on the entire planet. Spend whatever you want. As she said it, Jade flicked her eyes over to Richard and said with complete indifference, $200 million. My Jordan spends more than that on a single meal. You worthless freeloader, have you lost your mind over money? Richard seethed with impotent rage. Jordan is a fake. He has no blood relation to Jade. Marcus is the real one. How many times do I have to say it before he could finish? Stella stepped right in front of him. You are nothing but a useless freeloader. This family has no place for your nonsense. Shut your mouth. Does it even matter who's real and who isn't? Stella turned around and held out a beautifully wrapped gift box to you with all the warmth in the world. Jordan, sweetheart. Auntie Stella stayed up every night for a whole month to prepare this. There is nothing else like it anywhere in the world. You reached out and opened the box. Nestled inside was a luxury watch, the face encrusted with tiny brilliant diamonds, glittering under the light. Stella then let her gaze drift coolly toward Marcus. As for you, we'll sort out your situation once the eldest gets back. Marcus coughed a couple times with a look of total innocence, but inside he was burning. The moment I take control of this family, I'll make every single one of you pay. Next, fourth Aunt Yara tossed a set of car keys at you. Jordan, baby, the ones we just drove in. All of those supercars outside are yours. Take whichever one you feel like. Then third Aunt Chloe slapped down a deed for a top-tier fitness complex. Jordan, baby, whenever you want to train, just go, and Auntie Yara will personally coach you. Finally, it was youngest Aunt Sophie's turn. She walked up and handed you a folder. Jordan, this is from little Sophie. You took it and opened it. Inside was the deed to a premier wellness resort, along with a VIP card for a private hospital's deluxe suite. Sophie's eyes were getting red. She looked at you with the most pitiful expression. Jordan, you will always be little Sophie's nephew. Not nephew. Watching Sophie get flustered trying to backtrack on what she accidentally blurted out, your heart practically melted on the spot. You reached out and gently patted her on the head. Don't worry, I will always be your nephew. Chloe raised an eyebrow at you with a meaningful look. Jordan, sweetheart. You said it yourself, remember that, just then? Voices drifted in from the mansion entrance, and three graceful figures walked through the door. It was your foster mother Miriam and your two twin sisters. You narrowed your eyes, and quietly noted how Richard and Marcus both seemed to perk right up when Richard spotted Miriam. His eyes lit up immediately. He rushed straight over and shoved the paternity report at her like he was presenting a prize. Darling, you're finally back. Take a look at this. Jordan is not our biological son. Before Miriam could say a word, the little sweetheart behind her covered her mouth with a dramatic gasp. Dad, what are you saying? Little brother is fake. The other twin jumped in immediately. Little brother is not fake. If he can't be our biological brother, he can still be our sworn brother. Richard snapped at them both. What sworn brother? The two of you keep your mouths shut and stay out of this. But Miriam paid him no attention. She quickly scanned the room with a slight furrow in her brow. All five of her younger sisters were gathered around you, and not one of them looked the least bit worried. She took the report and skimmed it, then spoke slowly. This is serious. I'll arrange the testing myself. Get all 18 of the Moo family's certified labs on the phone. I want results within the hour using the proper channels. Head butler. Mr. Wang received the order and walked over to you and Marcus. Both of you, please follow me for samples. Marcus quickly fell into step, a flash of satisfaction crossing his face. This is the end of you. At that moment, Miriam stepped forward and gently rested her hand on your head. Jordan, don't overthink this. The love Mom has raised you with all these years is real. You nodded, moved, I know, Mom. Then followed the butler to the side room. 2.5 minutes later, after the samples were collected, you made your way back to the main hall without even thinking about it. You headed straight for the seat next to Miriam. But before you could sit down, a pair of soft hands reached out and pulled you sideways. Brother, come sit over here. Your sister Bailey's warm voice sounded right beside you. And from the other side, your sister Lily was already there. She latched onto your other arm. And where exactly do you think you're sneaking off to? Pinned on both sides, you let out a helpless sigh. Lily, Bailey, I'm not going anywhere. Lily's cheeks went lightly pink, and Bailey let out an awkward laugh. Meanwhile, the 5 aunts sitting in a row watched this whole scene unfold. One let out a cold huff, another quietly clenched her fist. One appeared perfectly calm, but was breathing very deliberately. Only Jade shook her head and cut straight to what actually mattered. Jordan, sweetie, chances are you really aren't the eldest biological child. Something like this is easy to confirm, and Richard isn't dumb enough to try a bluff like that. You understood exactly what Jade was really asking. She wanted to know whether you were planning to leave the Moo family, or stay, but before you could even make up your mind, Lily jumped in. Does it even matter whether it's real or not? Jordan has been our little brother for all these years. That kind of bond can't be erased by a test result. Bailey nodded from the other side. That's right. My sister got half of it right. You caught the slightly odd phrasing in what Bailey said, and let out an amused laugh despite yourself. Relax, the two of you will always be my sisters. Lily immediately turned her head away with a dramatic pout. Who said I want to always be your sister? But you didn't bother engaging. Lily had been like this since she was little, stubborn as a mule. After turning it over in your mind for a moment, you made your call. I think I should move out. Stella gently set down her teacup at that, and spoke lightly. Moving out sounds perfectly fine. Why not move in with me? We can live together. You're starting your new job soon anyway. Before she could finish, Jade cut in. Absolutely not. Second sister has a problem with that. A cold gleam flashed through Stella's eyes, and she aimed it straight at Jade. Jade let out a sharp laugh and didn't back down one bit. You know Jordan is about to start college, and you think it's appropriate for him to live with his own aunt. How does that look, yo? How about this? I'll buy him his own place. He lives alone. Third Aunt Chloe spoke up fast. Absolutely not. Jordan is still so young. He needs someone to look after him, and I have the most free time. He should stay with me. Chloe, stop talking nonsense. Fourth Aunt Yara immediately fired back. What Jordan needs most is close personal protection. Have you seen the look in Marcus's eyes? It's dangerous. So he's clearly better off living with me. Chloe looked at her with total disdain. Besides fighting, what else can you actually do? Go play in the sandbox. Before she was done, Lily and Bailey both piled on. Just stay home, brother. Please don't leave us. In an instant, you were completely surrounded by all 7 of them. The noise was making your head spin. Everyone stop, I'm not leaving. The room went dead silent for a solid 2.5 seconds, and then all the women settled back into their seats. perfectly composed as if nothing had happened. Stella calmly lifted her teacup and took a quiet sip. Clearly, she had gotten exactly what she wanted. After all, as long as you stayed in the house, right under Miriam's watch, with all the women keeping each other in check, that was the surest way to make sure no one pulled any moves behind anyone's back. You, on the other hand, had no idea what was really going on. You were just relieved they had finally quieted down. Sophie quietly reached over and took your hand. Jordan. Little Sophie is fine. You gave her a small, reassuring squeeze, and the whole scene was watched in silence by Marcus, his eyes full of envy as he stared down, muttering under his breath, "Those two worthless sisters of yours will sell you out eventually. And you 5 old hags too." Richard noticed too, his expression darkening. "Marcus, be patient. Once the results come back, Jordan will have to get out of here for good, and then every single one of these women will be circling you instead." The words had barely landed when butler Mr. Wang came striding in, holding a thick stack of reports. "Ma'am, all 18 institutions have returned their results.